Turns out Twitch has a mixology tag, so that's good. Right, just okay. Uh, right, okay. Happy Friday, everyone. Um, right, just get settled, get to 1:30, and then I will mix the. Oh, it's past 1:30 now. I'll wait a couple of minutes anyway. But my plan this evening is to mix a frozen mango daiquiri, uh, according to a recipe of my own invention. Not that it's particularly difficult recipe. I haven't like invented anything super novel here. It's fairly kind of straightforward mix that I'm just gonna play around with the ratios with. Oh, I need to sort out my audio. Cool. Right. Let's see. Just getting my stream all set up, and then we'll get started. Where's the bloody account manager dealy thing? Bum, 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 bum. Right. Everybody's been going on about it being very hot in Britain today. I slept through most of it, but hot days means adequately warm nights, so I'm pleased with that at least. Create a dashboard. Okay. Just gonna have my dashboard open because normally my fiance is lending a hand with moderation, but I just want to have that close to hand in case that neo-Marxist screaming person comes back, because I do not truck with any anti-Semitist bullshit. Right, okay, and why can I not access? There we go. Okay, right. Um, let's get down to it. Okay, so my plan this evening is to create a mango daiquiri. Um, it's going to be a frozen daiquiri, so just quickly for those unaware, the difference between a standard daiquiri and a frozen daiquiri is, fairly obvious. One's frozen, one isn't, i.e. one contains ice, typically that's like blended up quite fine. Um, Although you can also have it with like shaved ice, so that's ice that you get a big block and just shave off shards with a knife or a plane or whatever. Um, that's very nice. That's more of a traditional style. But the kind of modern frozen daiquiri is done in like a blender or a slushy machine or whatever. Um, so I'm going to be using just like pretty standard household blender. It's a Ninja, like moderately nice, but nothing special. Um, does anybody remember those Will It Blend adverts? I really used to enjoy those back in the day, and very silly, but I always wanted a Blendtec, whatever the company was that made those. I always wanted one of them, but they're quite expensive. They're like several £100s, whereas this one was like sub 100. So not nothing, but yeah. Honestly though, the Ninja Blender, it's an Auto IQ Nutri Ninja, and oh hey, thanks J Tibbs. Hope you're doing well. Um, FYI, we're going to be doing mixology today, followed by like maybe some politics stuff, maybe some gaming, depending on how I feel. Um, but next week I'm still confirming, but hopefully going to get an interesting guest on. So back to the classic stuff. But today it's mixology first, and I'm not a big fan of that term mixology. It makes it sound like more of a science than it is. Though there is of course science that goes into drink mixing. Um, you know, the physics of heat transfer is particularly important when it comes to dealing with ice and especially with frozen drinks. So anyway, this is a frozen daiquiri. Lot of people, lot of like bartenders seem to, or at least like drink snob sort of bartenders, seem to have something against frozen drinks. I am not a fan of this preconception. I think frozen drinks can be wonderful, particularly on a warm night like tonight, and as long as you get the balance right, they can be as complex and delicious as any like fancy complex cocktail. Um, so yeah, I would highly support them. Also, I particularly enjoy the style of frozen cocktails served in like New Orleans and Las Vegas. I've only been to Vegas. I'd love to go to New Orleans sometime, but it's not a high quality drink. You go to these bars. Calling them bars is a bit of an overstatement, but holes in a wall down the strip where there's just a bunch of slushy machines filled with all different kinds of boozy, sweet, vaguely citrusy concoctions, and it's like $5 to get a big flask of them, which you buy one flask and just keep on refilling it, and they'll add an extra shot of rum for like $1, and you can get really wankered on those, and they're like it's not good drinks. They're not using like freshly squeezed lime juice and the finest raw cane sugar or whatever, but they're very drinkable and they are guaranteed to get you sloshed. So yeah, I would highly recommend those if you're ever going to ever going to Vegas or New Orleans. And of course, with their open container laws, you can just wander around the streets, wander around the casinos, whatever, just sipping away, which is wonderful. Um, but today I'm making oh, thank you, Josh. I'm not trying to sort of downplay myself. This isn't false modesty. It's just some people kind of look down on frozen drinks, and I say poo to that. That is, it's the same kind of people who, often the same kind of people who uh, will complain about, women drinking strong drinks or men drinking, fruity drinks. And gendering drinks is just such utter bollocks. Like, it's something tasty to sip on to maybe get you a little bit tipsy to enjoy. We don't like gender desserts in nearly the same way. You don't have men being like criticized for enjoying a bit of chocolate cake. Typically, I mean, I guess some people might, but I don't know. So why do we start, assuming that beer has to be a man's drink, or whiskey has to be a man's drink, or the cosmopolitan or daiquiri has to be a woman's drink? It's all nonsense. Just like what you like, enjoy the drinks you like, and try lots of different types. I want to convince the ex-girlfriend's dad to let me date his daughter by telling him about the physics of Guinness. That's very cool. What about the like the gradual separation, the different specific gravities of the. Is it differences in specific gravity between like the foam and the, or is it just the bubbles? Well, maybe you can tell us, J-Tips. Um, right, so we're going to start with invisible fruit. You need a completely see-through fruit, or a lime will do, and a green screen. Um, I really need to stop using the green screen for my drink episodes. It does not go well with limes. Does not go well with mint. Creme de menthe, I suppose. Not that I'm a huge creme de menthe fan, though works in the right drink. Um, so I'm going to have I. Oh, I haven't left my jigger around. Okay, need to just grab my little measuring jigger so that I know how much I'm putting in. There's always some component I've managed to forget because I wash all this stuff up before I stream. Um, oh, thank you, Josh. Yeah, so for those who don't know, Josh is an old friend of mine, and very old now. How long have we been friends now? That's probably too long. Back to 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. Anyway, ages. And I got Josh into cocktails, and he's always very appreciative, and he makes very good drinks now. So yeah, it's always really lovely seeing someone who you've introduced to a hobby or a craft or whatever, and then they get very good and get very excited and start bringing you interesting tips, and it's like full circle, circle of life, something like that. Anyway, so I'm going to start by using about 2 ounces of lime juice. As mentioned before, I do use ounces to measure cocktail ingredients and literally nothing else. Um, Most of the recipes uh, are in American books, and ounces do work quite nicely for just easily dividing up. So I'm just using my squeezer to squeeze into there, um, and like I say, we're going for about 2 ounces of lime juice, and ideally you do want to use fresh lime juice. Like all of those packaged citrus juices, just they lose a lot of the bite and sort of get dull flavour. Though, of course, if you're putting a bunch of sugar and stuff in there as well, it doesn't matter quite as much. But nevertheless, if you can, get some fresh lime juice. And I have prepared for this, so I figured since I haven't done proper cocktail session in a couple of weeks, I'd do a bit of a fancier one today. And I've actually managed, first of all, to finally make some sugar syrup, which is the easiest thing in the world. I don't know, I've been putting it off. But this looks like rum, but it's actually just simple syrup. This with some nice brown sugar, soft brown sugar, um, which I've mixed by weight, 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, and just put it on the hob. You can do it in the microwave, or I mean, you can do it with like water from the kettle. You can even do it with hot water from your water tap. I mean, if you really want, you can do it with cold water. It just takes ages. But the point is just to dissolve 2 parts of sugar to 1 part of water. And that's why they call it simple syrup, because it's not very complex. Let's just tip out the remains of that water. Right, so got my blender jug, carefully tip in the lime juice. Just put that down there for the moment. Then I'm going to do the simple syrup. So I'm going to use just under 1.5 ounces of that. 0.5 ounces. I'll use. So it says on this recipe that to use 1 ounce, I'm doing 2 drinks. So 2 ounces obviously, and use a little over an ounce of this, because you do want frozen drinks, you do want them to be reasonably sweet. The extra dilution of the little ice particles means that it tastes less sweet than it would otherwise in a on the rocks drink. So you want it a bit sweeter, a bit like thicker mouthfeel, but also don't want to go overboard, not least because I am diabetic. Um, as was Ernest Hemingway, who famously created the Hemingway daiquiri, or I think had the Hemingway daiquiri created for him, because it is lower in sugar than a regular daiquiri. So I'm just pouring in the simple syrup. This is a fairly large blender for this really, but like this is good for more uh, drinks. Oh, is something wrong with the audio? Uh, Let me know if there is. Uh, we should design a spice night. Oh, maybe with some pimento dram. Mm. Uh, for those who, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Matt 101. If you maybe try refreshing. Don't know. Uh, but yeah, the Spice Night is a reference to one of our D&D campaigns where uh, yeah, sorry about that, Matt 101. Not sure what's going on. Where a an agent of the evil Baron kept on pissing off the party Josh was playing, and he left a distinctive odor of cloves. So glad to hear it, Matt 101. So the party started calling him, not knowing his real name, the Spice Knight, and the name stuck. Uh, that was the same campaign where Josh's character invented the Takvara, which was basically a Manhattan except named after the town they were in. Um, right, so I'm doing 4 ounces of rum, 2 ounces per drink. I am currently using Myers, which is a classic Jamaican dark rum, lots of hogo, lots of funk. It's not very expensive, and it mixes very well. I mean, it's an adequate sipper. I would sip it on its own, but it works particularly well when mixed. So that's all of the typical ingredients, and right now we've got ourselves a perfectly serviceable regular daiquiri. But what I'm going to do to bring it up in level, to elevate it, as they say on all those cooking shows, is I've pre-prepared. Well, I've got some ice, so I need to add ice to there. But I've also pre-prepared some mango chunks. So I've just chopped up a mango and frozen it. And so hopefully, now this is a bit of an experiment for me, because I like to mess around with things and see where they're going. So frozen mango, just literally hedgehogged up to mango. I don't know if you don't know how to cut a mango, Google like mango hedgehog or something. It's pretty easy. But I've got these little chunks that hopefully will break apart a bit, because currently it's all kind of frozen together in one big chunk. Okay, that might just be a bit frozen. Let's get the knife at it, because I'd ideally like to break that up a little bit. Excuse me. Okay, I should have separated this out more before freezing them. I did wonder if this would happen if I didn't have a bigger container. It's okay, I'll just chop it up a bit. As with the usual tenor of the cocktail streams, it's a bit of a bit of experimentation along the way. Oh, it's fine, I haven't spilled anything. Right. Now, hopefully, you won't see me chop off a finger. Although, if it did, that would probably be good for ratings, wouldn't it? So, you know, let's hope it doesn't happen. But if it does, then there'll be a single silver lining, I guess. Don't worry, I'm not going to chop off a finger. Right. Let's chop that up a little bit more. And indeed, will it blend? Good old bit of internet lore, that. Internet history. Right. So the mango is going in. Let's see if it'll blend. We'll stick in some ice as well. So we've got the mango in there. That is giving off some nice mist, and then just going to, that's probably not great for the audio, but tip in ice. This is just regular ice that I've smashed up a bit with, when Beanie tried to kidnap a postman, I do. That was one of our Cyberpunk campaigns. Or wasn't actually the Cyberpunk game, it was, it was a D20 Modern variant kind of home campaign where I believe the party was tasked to investigate these like Cthulhu goings on, you know, mystical cults and stuff, but for some reason just ended up terrorizing a town and kidnapping a postman as part of some extended scheme. Right, let's see if it. Okay, just rearrange this stuff on my table a little bit, see if I can show you the actual blender. There we go. And I will mute myself because otherwise this is just going to be audio poison for you. So I'm going to do about 30 seconds or so. Hopefully that'll be alright. Fingers crossed. Right, let's have a look. Let's see how that's done. Might be... Okay, that's a little bit thick. That is quite thick. That's just... That's not liquid. Okay, I might have added a little bit much ice. But what we'll do is we'll add a little splash of water and buzz it again. Or, I mean, we've got a bit more of our ingredients here. We may as well make it a drink and a half each. So I'll just splash in. Just splash in a little bit more of each ingredient. It's not going to be super precise, but it'll give an extra bit of liquid without just unacceptably watering it down, because we wouldn't want to do that. Maybe that's a little bit much, but fuck it. We are doing this roughly. I know I carefully measured out all the ingredients beforehand, and now, like, I'm just kind of adding them willy-nilly, but, you know, it's a boozy drink. We're allowed to be a bit spontaneous. and then we'll do another bit of a blend. Oops. Right. There we go. Yeah, that's considerably more liquid. Like that actually flows, and not just in the sense that pitch does technically flow. Right. Okay. I'm just going to shout up to Amy, and I'm going to grab a couple of glasses from the freezer. It's not necessary by any means for cocktails, but sticking the glasses in the freezer is an extra little bonus that makes everything a bit nicer. Excuse me. Right. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take out the blade, tap that off a bit, trying to avoid cutting myself. That tastes nice. Get my couple of straws and put those in the glasses, and then there we go. Right, pour that in. There we go. Yeah. Ooh, don't want it spilling over the sides. Now, if I were doing this again, I'd probably use less ice. Normally, with blended drinks, I kind of measure it by putting in ice until it goes up to the water level. But this time it was a bit obstructed by the chunks of mango, so I think I should have compensated for that. But it seems to have worked out all right. So if you're making this at home, maybe it's what I should have done in the first place: is add ice a bit more slowly, and ooh, and you should be all right. Don't add it all at once. Right, I am poking around at this with my finger, but that's fine. I'm not a professional bartender. Cool. Okay, that might be slightly overflowing the glass, but that looks pretty fucking good. Oh, it tastes pretty fucking good too. Mm. Oh, that is really nice. Um, yeah, you can get a bit of the caramelly undertones of the. Oh, here we go. There you are. Enjoy. Um, mm, yeah, bit of caramelly undertones from the nice brown sugar. Um, got that lovely sort of vegetal funkiness of the rum, and of course a big punch of mango. Mm, mm. I think I'm going to give the hot sauce a miss for the moment because I just need something really straight up refreshing. Yeah, Amy comes straight down. She loves it. um, she's really good with the food dishes. I'm like to think pretty damn good with the drinks. So between us, we make a very good dinner party. Mm. Yeah, that is still a bit of a mission to suck on. Because it's pretty thick, but mm, it's very tasty. As that melts a little bit, because to some degree you want to err on the side of being a bit thicker, so it stays in a decent state for longer. Because otherwise you've got to really wolf it down, and that ends up giving you a brain freeze if you're susceptible to such things. There we go. Just pour out the last little bit. Yeah, I'd be up for a dinner party off, Josh. That would yeah, I believe it. No, but we'll have to put it down to the challenge, and sounds good to me. Mm. Right. So, happy Friday, everyone. I'm not sure if I said that at the start. Um, I'm glad you're enjoying, Amy. Uh, yeah, I absolutely back our team, though it does sound like the kind of battle where everyone's going to win. So, where is my tissues? Because my bloody nose is running all the time. Um, hay fever and whatnot. Mm, excuse me. There we go. Right. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll just reposition my camera a little bit. So, I hope everybody is having an adequate week. Um, that the woes of the world aren't getting down too much, and that, you are safe in mind and body, um, as much as anyone can be in these trying times. Uh, let's see. Right, repositioning. Yeah, so would highly recommend if you are into making the drinks. Don't think you can really do this one without a blender. Um, would be difficult, but get a blender. They're not. You can get some pretty cheap ones, and though you do kind of need to get a half decent one if you're doing it with ice, because ice is pretty tough on the blades, and if you just get cheap like soft steel, it's like batters them about and ends up blunting them very quickly. So get a half decent one, but if you can afford it, if not, you don't have to. Just watch any of my other drink streams or any of the many other uh, drink instructions online and make something there. As you know, only consume my media, consume no other media. I think that's what I'm supposed to advocate for. Uh, anyway, yes, absolutely. When we get back post COVID, we shall have to pop round each other's places and have tasty meals and whatnot. Mm. Right. Oh, I'm not sure what I'm in the mood for this evening. I don't think I'm going to play. Uh, I'm probably not in the mood for playing games right now. I might do a little bit more news. Because I have been. I don't know about you folks, but I have been quite enjoying the last couple of political streams I did. I think it's that I was in the politics category that brought, by my standards at least, a lot of people into my stream. Um, I hope it wasn't, you know, disruptive for regular viewers, but I I certainly have been finding it entertaining. Excuse me. Um, right, let's. I think I can change my categories and whatnot while streaming because I'm currently in the um, food and drink category or something. Excuse me. Uh, which isn't exactly where I want to be. How do I do that? No, don't. Well, this is. I've got so many controls and no idea what half of them do. Dashboard, layout editor, no studio mode. Nope. Excuse me for this. This is not the best streaming, but I want to switch my category. Oh, can I not? Okay, apparently I can't change those settings while I'm live. Eh. Why can I not do that? That is. I swear I've done this previously. Nope, nope. Who knows? Mm. That really is very nice. The fresh mango really does it because you get a little bit of that. I'm not sure if mango has the same protein in because. Okay, let me take you a few steps back through that thought. Mango has that little kind of uh, tingling on the tongue, I find, not dissimilar to what pineapple has. In pineapple, that's caused by a protein called bromelain, which is a proteolytic enzyme which breaks down proteins in your body, uh, slightly degenerating your cells. And the sensation of that is what causes the kind of slightly like astringent sort of mouthfeel of pineapple. And I sometimes get the same thing with mango, uh, so I'm wondering if it's got the same. Uh, yeah. Oh no, they contain amylase. Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah, they do. Yeah, that would explain it. Uh. Oh, there's also actinidine. Ah. Okay. So it's also found in kiwi fruit, pineapple, mango, banana, and papaya. Explain why kiwi fruit as well has similar. Um, yes, we should absolutely do a proper cocktail Friday. I would love to have you as a guest on stream. I haven't done any in-person guest yet, obviously, because you know it's lockdown and everything. But Josh, you have an open invitation to you know, health, global health security permitting, to come on, and I'd love to do a dual cocktail session with you. That'd be great fun. Mm. Ah, right. Where? I swear there is some way of. Oh, have I found it? No, that's just clicking to open everything in the mixology category. I was pleased to see there's a mixology category. That's pleasant. Um, edit stats and panels. No. Oh, edit stream info. There we go. Right. Okay. Okay. Category from IRL into politics. Um, where we can dive into the nightmare realm of online political chat, which I say nightmare realm I've been finding quite entertaining. It's been a while since I've done like more active debate stuff. Um, right. So yes, I'm now in politics, although apparently I still have the mixology tag. Um, I don't know. So I'm mixing up a political debate or something. Um, right. Let's have a look. Let's see what 538 is saying. See how the opinion polls are doing. It's always a bit. Wait, there's been a recent uptick. It's not a huge one, but what's this recent uptick over? I mean, by Trumpian upticks, that's reasonably substantial. Although I suppose it could just be a little bit of reversion to mean after his approval rating has, by his standards, tanked over the last month or two. Got that tiny little COVID bump, a rally round the flag effect, and then whoop right down. So yeah, probably nothing to be too worried about. I often load up the Trump approval ratings and see these little bumps and go, oh God, why are people changing their mind? But there's so much noise that I really shouldn't be reading very much into tiny little signals like that. Um, Stem cell tourism. Oh right, yeah, yeah. So this will be people trying to get high risk stem cell based treatments. Um, oh shit, I didn't notice JTibs subscribed again with Prime. I'm sorry I didn't notice it at the time, JTibs. Awesome. Uh, like Melania's nighttime friend. Uh, yeah, thank you very much, JTibs. Got that Prime subscription again. Very much appreciated. Um, as is Captain R. Eelboy, who dropped a bunch of subs randomly earlier in the week, which was very cool. So, everyone subscribing, thank you. I don't expect it at all, um, but it's a very nice treat when someone does. And anybody who would like to subscribe, if you've got Amazon Prime and you haven't already subscribed to anyone, you've got a free subscription with Amazon Prime. Um, and I suppose I'm not an Amazon employee. I'm an Amazon contractor or something. I don't know. So praise praise Bezos and all that, and yeah, money's good. But I mean, mainly it's just like someone. No, oh God, a swishy. My cat has a rodent. Looks like a juvenile rat. Swishy. Right, I've got to deal with this because one time she brought one in and oh no, she's going out. Okay, yeah, take that outside. Just don't bring it back in. Right. Oh, hopefully she won't bring it back in. um, it looked pretty dead, so hopefully she's just going to. Though it might have just been playing dead in her mouth. So that's always a bit grim. Mm. But we accept a certain level of wild animal suffering in order to have our fluffy companions, or at least I do. I guess that's a value judgment whether the life of a cat is worth more than the lives of all of its victims. But I like my cat very much, so I'm going to stick with her and accept that she occasionally kills a few rodents. Um, yeah. So stem cell treatments, they've they've very much been on this they've very much been on this hype train. So if you're not familiar with the hype cycle, um, the hype curve. Uh, there we go. Technological hype curve. So this is uh, often cited as the kind of level of hype, often cited as a description of the level of excitement and expectation related to a new technology. So, like, the first discovery is made, it gets reported in, initially the scientific press and then the popular media. You get a bunch of experts going, yeah, maybe this could be used to do X, Y, Z, and then you get maybe a few more, experts and sort of more media active people going, this is going to be used for all these amazing new discoveries, these new technological development. It's going to be wonderful. Your Michio Kaku's or your uh, uh, other like popularizers of science who go a bit far. Maybe I don't want to specifically rag on Michio Kaku, who's very cool, but he also, excuse me, he also does have a tendency to go a little bit, look at this new technology. Here's all the amazing ways we're going to be using it, and some of them are very speculative and maybe not presented as being quite as speculative as they are. So you get all of that hyping up and excitement, except the actual tech has developed quite slowly, and though we're being told we're going to be, jetting around on graphene jetpacks or whatever, um, it turns out that these things happen slowly, so everyone gets very pissed off and thinks that all the hype was for nothing and that the tech is just completely useless. And you get a bunch of think pieces going, where is graphene? Is graphene relevant anymore? Turns out the wonder material is a bit of a bust, all of that kind of stuff. Um, but then the actual development of the like usable technology, the kind of marketization and commercialization of it comes through, and it starts being useful, and we realize, oh yeah, actually this is really cool. So you see this with like mobile communications technology, around the dot-com boom. There was a lot of excitement without without as much actually getting usefully done. The bubble burst, and everyone thought, oh, this internet thing is overplayed. But a few years later, we started getting major proliferation of like e-commerce and social media and so forth, and we hit the plateau of productivity. So reason I mention this is that stem cells have been very much on this journey. I don't know if you remember around like uh, 2007, 2008, around about that kind of time. Stem cells were like the hot shit in the like scientific news and in popular news, and they were very much like touted as being the things that are going to save us from all these different cancers and all these different neurological conditions and so on and so forth. Um, and then a bunch of therapies failed in testing. Notably, there was one of the ones I'm more familiar with was a stem cell injection into the substantia nigra, which is the part of the brain that one of the parts of the brain, but for the purposes of Parkinson's, the main relevant part of the brain that produces dopamine. And the idea was that in Parkinson's, these cells in the substantia nigra um, die off, stop producing dopamine, and this is part of the pathophysiology of Parkinson's. That if we can reverse, then maybe it's going to effectively treat the Parkinson's. Um, so they injected a bunch of stem cells into the SN with the hope of the undifferentiated stem cells specializing as the dopamine producing neurons. Didn't work. Brain cancer, not good. Uh, so that trial got halted pretty quickly, and there've been, oh yeah, here we go. Although stem cells have undergone some preliminary tests in the case of Parkinson's. Um, yeah, so um, it that uh, seems that people are, well, in terms of treatments coming out, they're starting to like filter back through. There are a bunch of trials starting up again, this time with a bit more reason to think that it's going to go successfully. You know, they've dealt with a lot of the teething problems, um, but as uh, this says quite correctly, there aren't any yet that like have really shown to be super useful. Um, and the hope is that we are starting to head up that curve and that we're starting to get some stem cell treatments that will actually be viable. But in the meantime, we're kind of still a bit down here, and that's fertile grounds for scam artists to who you know, are preying on people's hype, but not having to deal with the actual challenges of implementing a very difficult technology, are going to take advantage and uh, also give good data. Well, so the sorry, what would also give? Hello? My headphones just made a really weird squealing noise. I'm not sure whether that's that they're low on battery. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah, so there's certainly a big risk of. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what my headset's doing. There's certainly a big risk of people, yeah, sticking stem cells where they shouldn't go. And I mean, who are seeing, you know, two-thirds of the patient, uh, yeah, nearly two-thirds had one of their patients try an untested stem cell therapy, and another 20% of them had patients approach them only after the patients had already tried one. These procedures weren't without complications. About a quarter of the doctors reporting having a patient with complications from a seizure ranging from stroke to hepatitis, which, you know, strokes and hepatitis aren't generally considered to be super wonderful things. And this is generally a fairly big problem in the US. The US has um, a weird system of like regulation of medical tech. So on the one hand, it's the FDA is very stringent. You have to go through a kind of ridiculous level of regulatory approval to get your drug or medical device onto the market via the FDA. It's very effective at preventing dangerous drugs getting through, but it's also probably quite effective at preventing some useful drugs getting through. There have been several therapies that probably would have been really good, but the cost to bring them to market was too great because of these regulatory burdens. Now, I'm not saying this is like a overall sort of libertarian point, not least because I'm in favour of generally some kind of regulation of these markets, but also because the converse of that is that the US has very generous uh, oh fuck, what's the exemption called? Not humane, humanitarian exemptions, which is the ability to use um, treatments that for like serious diseases to get exceptions to the usual like FDA process, to use treatments for like research purposes or as a like last resort, when they might work and we haven't proven it yet, but worth trying. Uh, and to some degree, that's a good thing. It does make certain aspects of research easier in the US, but it also leads to a widespread proliferation of of miracle cures being presented as a sort of research, like a legitimate research exercise, when in actual fact it's just some crank doctor who's been doing research for the last 20 years and is just selling their shitty miracle cure. Um, and because the humanitarian exemption is like quite generous, it ends up with a bunch of these kind of like stem cell clinics being set up, offering very questionable treatments to people who don't know any better. And this pisses me off for various reasons, but particularly because it gives a really bad name to legitimate research efforts. If one of the cornerstones of medical research ethics is this idea of informed consent, and it's important in various other fields too. In just regular medical treatment, in sex, informed consent I think is a very good way to consider like how to engage in a relationship responsibly. But in medical ethics, biomedical research ethics specifically, it has a very weighty history, because all of this, the modern conception of informed consent and the importance of it, largely comes out of uh, the fallout from World War II and the medical experimentation undertaken most famously by the Nazis, but also by the Japanese imperial state, um, which involved horrific abuses of participants. And it's not even like the Nazis and the Japanese state were exclusively responsible for this, because in both the US and UK have engaged in some very unethical research that didn't adequately involve the consent of the participants. But of course, the uh, degree of harm being caused in the case of Japan and Germany was far higher. Um, so this stuff has a very nasty history, and there's very good reason why medical researchers should want to gain the informed, adequate consent of their participants before engaging in research. And by informed consent, I mean not just you get a yes, not just you tell people about the study briefly and they say, oh well, all right, I guess we'll do it. You want to have your participants, to the best of your ability, understand what's involved in the study, understand the actual risks involved, and be making a free decision where you're not pressuring them. And this is something that, having worked with many participants myself, is something I've been very conscious of, is that you are necessarily in a position of authority, as a medical researcher when you're speaking with a participant, even if even if I'm like a undergraduate student, wearing like my normal clothes, and it's a middle-aged person, even if I'm like the lowest of the low on the kind of the like totem of medical researchers, I'm still the one who's sat behind a desk with the clipboard, with the magic computer that has all the data on it, with the who's doing the testing, who's gathering the data. I'm still in a position of authority in some respects, and that's a very weighty responsibility, and it's something that as researchers, we really shouldn't take lightly. So to have chucklefucks running around uh, offering, injections of stem cells to patients without giving them any real idea of what they're signing up for, what risks they're being exposed to, the actual probability of good outcomes of the treatment, all this stuff is just, I mean, fuck these people, really. They're absolute shits, and they deserve a good hard kick in the genitals, frankly. Um, and like again, this wouldn't be as egregious if it weren't for the history. It probably wouldn't happen as much if the FDA were a bit less fucky. Um, but ultimately, this comes down to stupid, not even stupid, mendacious, uh, maybe both or either, individuals who have some degree of like medical licensing and have decided to use those qualifications and that position in order to uh, uh, abuse medical science. What if people wanted to try it and could only go to these people to buy it? Uh, then the people who are selling it have a responsibility to give their patients an opportunity to make an informed decision. And while I can't speak for the specific instance being discussed here, more generally, the kind of charlatans who put out um, very high high risk like procedures under the humanitarian exemption aren't like adequately explaining this to their patients. And if you think you're informed, then you're welcome to persuade the healthcare provider of that. But the healthcare provider still has a responsibility to make sure that you actually are. Would be my argument. So, like, I don't think that necessarily these groups should be completely prevented from purveying any kind of novel treatment. And indeed, there have been instances of novel medical treatment um, coming out of unexpected sources. Um, how do you mean a monopoly on safety? Um, nice. I'm not sure. Not sure I understand. Um, so like, I think yeah, I'm not sure I understand your point. Could you rephrase? Um, but either way, I think that uh, there's multiple people with responsibilities here. The the state I think has some responsibility to. Wait, um, if I disagree with the FDA, what can I do? Oh, okay, right. So I see what you mean. So if you disagree with the FDA, then I think so. First of all, I think you should be legally allowed to purchase just about any drug that you want, or to manufacture it yourself. Um, I would exclude antibiotics here because I would include stem cells in that. I think you should be legally allowed to manufacture them. Um, but I think that there is a responsibility, both a moral responsibility and a legal responsibility from the perspective of like think of trade description. From a trade description perspective, there is a responsibility on the purveyors of these things to adequately explain all of the consequences of all of the understood consequences and risks of what they're providing. So if you want to set up, Mat 101's black market cyber clinic where people can come in and get stem cell injections, and I mean, that's pretty cool. I don't blame you. And you know, explain to them in like legitimately substantial detail what the risks are, where the unknown areas are, and give them, you know, a chance to reconsider their choice. You encourage them to seek other sources, you know, these kind of things. Then all cool by me. If they, after all of that, they still go, yeah, actually, I do want your black market weird, you know, stem cell injections. I realize that they have like a 10% chance of actually doing anything positive, and I realize that there's like a 40% chance of my getting a horrible cancer, but I super want those stem cells in me. Then yeah, I do think you should be able to do that. The problem is that most of the people in practice actually purveying these treatments are not providing that kind of level of assurance. Indeed, they're making quite extreme claims, positive claims about the efficacy of these treatments, despite them completely being, you know, speculative. And that's what I have an objection to. I think that it's both very morally wrong, and that the government does have a legitimate role in ensuring consumer protection here. And you know, I don't think one should be able to market Coca-Cola as a cure for cancer. Uh, don't get me wrong, it's pretty great. What's the current? Always the real thing? Taste the feeling, fuck the freshness. I don't know whatever the current Coke slogan is. Coke slogan. Um, you know, so nothing against Coca-Cola, but uh, probably shouldn't be able to sell it as, you know, a cure-all for cancer or whatever. And similarly, you know, with stem cells, as long as you're willing to give like a accurate description, I think that one should the government should reasonably be able to put greater limits on um, the way that certain things are sold than others, depending on their risk. So, you know, like with drugs, I think it's reasonable for them to ascribe certain purity standards and put restrictions on marketing and so forth in ways that it's not for, say, a TV or a car. Well, I don't know with cars, because you do have a bunch of cars. Bad example there. A TV or a blender. Um, Say the first thing I see. Uh, because they have more like far-reaching consequences in terms of uh, their direct impact on the physical world. But I still retain a fair chunk of my libertarian ideals, in the sense that um, I don't think things should be completely banned from sale in all but the most extreme circumstances. So, okay, you ready for a hot take? I'm willing to make the very brave claim that I don't think people should be able to privately own nuclear weapons. Um, yeah, my concern is well, not just stupid people, but uh, misled people and you know, deluded people and so forth. I I think we should generally try to limit technologies that allow individual stupid people or individual evil people to kill very large amounts of people, for example. Um, I would certainly agree that stupid people are a concern. Um, though I would also, I know, no, that's the hottest to take, so spicy. Um, but I think that one of the things that's easy to kind of forget there is that while stupid people are certainly a concern, all of us is stupid in some domains. Like, I make very poor decisions all the time in some areas. Um, all of us is are what? Oh, what did I say? Have I made a grammatical mistake? Because while I don't like correcting people for grammar, I do like my own grammar being correct. That's I used to be one of those very, persnickety grammar Nazi types. Um, uh, and now I don't get prescriptivist. I don't criticize other people, but no need to apologize, Matt 101. If you do see me make a grammar mistake, feel free to correct. I can't remember what I said, but if I mixed up are and is, that is something I need to improve, or at least something I like to improve. I don't need to improve. I don't need to improve for any of you, but I do. I do like to. So mm, no, and it's a distinction you normally make correctly. So my bad. But yeah, and actually, no, that goes to prove my point because it demonstrates that everyone is stupid in a few areas. Um, like I know some. I don't want to brag, but I know some very smart people. Uh, Anders uh, Anders Sandberg pops on here every so often, and he's probably the smartest person I know. But he's crap at certain areas. I'm absolutely terrible at many areas of cognition, and any smart person you point at, sorry, I don't want to like place myself in the same category as Anders there because I'm nowhere near as smart as him. Um, but I think I'm a moderately smart person, but I'm stupid as fuck in some areas. Anything related to sports, I don't give a shit about. I'm not great at maths. Well, my arithmetic is pretty good, but when it gets to like trigonometry or beyond, I'm just like, I really need to work more on that. But there's, and evidently my grammar, mixing up is and are. Um, uh, Thank you, Josh. Uh, but I guess what I'm saying is that everyone's a little bit stupid in if you identify the right area, and we should generally try to be tolerant of that where possible, and also set up society in a way that our occasional stupidities don't tend to lead to you know, really massive death counts. Um, like we should be tolerant of stupidity and try to uh, understand and ameliorate it where possible, but ideally not set up the world so any stupid person can get hold of a terrible weapon of great destruction and use it on the world. That's my super hot take for today. Oh, excuse me. Ooh, I'm very tired at the moment. I don't know why. Well, I do know why in part. Oh wait. Oh, I have a message from my GP surgery saying that the number of coronavirus cases in Oxfordshire is starting to rise. So I'm just going to ignore that because I stay inside all the time anyway. Um, Hello, Bob Marley one number one. How are you? The first album I ever bought was a Bob Marley album, um, on cassette tape, if you believe that. For my dad's old Sony Walkman. That was a cool little piece of technology. Very satisfying to handle. Good buttons. Anyway, I don't know what I'm rambling on about. Mm. Oh, right. Let's see what else is going on in the world of science technology. Um, damn Oxford. What's wrong with Oxford, Bob Marley? Oxford's wonderful. Uh, let's see. Oh, is this the big Twitter hat? Studying Oxford is huge. No, I'm barely at Oxford anymore. Uh, I'm coming to the end of my uh, what should be my doctorate, but is going to end up being a master's of research instead because I've been off on sick leave for the last like 2 years or something. Um, Federal prosecutors in San Francisco charged Mason Shepard, 19, Nima Faisal, 22, an unnamed juvenile, who was 17-year-old Graham Clark. Uh, Shepard residing in Bognor Regis. That's a classic seaside town. Um, Trio stand accused using social engineering and other techniques to gain access to internal Twitter systems. Uh, this is like the fact that this is a team of. I don't want to like get down on young people by any means because I did some pretty decent shit when I was younger than this, but um, the fact that like three people, assuming this is true and that they are have been correctly prosecuted, the fact that three people in their like late teens, early 20s can hack the accounts of many of the world's largest Twitter users is kind of terrifying, especially when Twitter is now being used for, you know, communication between world leaders, some of whom are in charge of nuclear weapons. You know, that's not great. Um, Oxford Neuroscience is massive place, but I'm here struggling with a psychology A level. Well, stick with psychology A level because psychology is one of the better A levels you can do. Um, though, like, if you're struggling, don't worry because you have to learn a lot of like Freud stuff and whatnot that just nobody will care about afterwards. So um, just tell your teacher that Freud is a an idiot cokehead, and even if they disagree with you, you'll be in the right. Uh, Freud did love his cocaine. He wrote a whole pamphlet on it. I did the first couple of months of a psychology A level before I dropped out, and ended up doing uh, ended up not doing school for a couple of years, and then went back and did an Access to Higher Education Science course, which had a psychology component. Um, so I don't actually have a psychology A level. Um, oh yeah, yeah, incest weirdo is fair. Uh, Fucking incesty cokehead. Like nobody in modern psychology pays any fucking attention to Freud except as like an interesting case study from back in the day. Um, but yeah, Matt. Apparently, Matt 101. It is not the CIA, assuming federal prosecutors are correct here. Um, it's just like some kids. Uh, which, like I say, given that Bill Gates's account. Well, Bill Gates is currently the target of big conspiracies that have a large impact on global health. The fact that Obama's account was hacked, which presumably they could have done POTUS's as well, or the current POTUS, or I don't know, say Modi's the Prime Minister of India, who are currently in a bit of a spat, shall we say, with Pakistan. Um, yeah, there you go. Expense shares send some message from Pakistan leads his account about India. Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, so psychoanalysis, the most cheesy thing ever. You're not wrong. So my fiance Amy is doing some stuff with her friends tonight, but if she were on, she would very much agree with you. And she's got a doctorate in clinical psychology, um, clinical psychological research. Technically, she's not a clinical psychologist; she's a researcher in clinical psychology. Um, but and similarly, as Josh mentions, our friend, mutual friend Ollie, will will very much give you that impression too. Who is again, he's got a doctorate in psychology. Um, yeah, pretty much everyone agrees that, except for a bunch of people in America for some reason. Psychoanalysis is really popular in America, and I have no idea why. Um, it's just it has very little evidentiary basis. The entire like fundamental um, mechanistic assumptions behind it are just garbage. Uh, and I mean, yeah, Freud definitely deserves a place in history. Don't get me wrong. Um, but he also deserves a bit of a risible place in history. Um, yeah, the Americans can be a bit strange, but the Americans are fascinating though. It's a endlessly interesting country, and I really enjoy visiting America because it's like 50 uh, little countries all joined up, and it's like a super EU, but more insane. Um, with all of the good and bad that brings. Because nowhere but America will you get the wondrous sights of Las Vegas, the endless and fucking goddamn uh, the endless and amazing food and drink options, the Silicon Valley, the digital revolution, all these excellent things came out of America, but also um, you know Trump and like just weird culture, the strangest, most fascinating culture. Um, I know a professor in behavioral psychology, Pavlov and that stuff, but that's not as tough as neuroscience. Well, I mean, these days, like the basic sort of associative learning stuff that well, Pavlov was doing classical conditioning, but all of the uh, sort of behavioral learning stuff, a lot of that is basically neuroscience. Um, at that kind of level, the boundary between neuroscience and psychology gets very blurry, and I wouldn't say that psychology is necessarily easier than neuroscience. Um, as a trained neuroscientist who took quite a few courses of psychology during my undergraduate, uh, they're both pretty challenging. Um, yeah, Freud was one of the first people to do like talk therapy as a thing, and he was part of the, excuse me, like late 19th century movement to make neuroscience and psychology more of actual sciences. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we have a um, actual psychologist doctorate in chat now, Neon Golden. Um, Neon Golden, Bob Marley. Bob Marley is doing a psychology A level, and oh yeah. I mean the operant conditioning stuff is like a lot of that is really on the border of neuroscience these days because we can measure the like actual physical changes occurring. Although I don't know what specifically this professor does because some of them are taking a much more like behavioralist approach, some of them taking a more like fucking Zizek with the sniffing at the moment. Some of them taking a more like cell-based mechanistic approach. I mean, really, it sounds a bit like wanky, but it doesn't always make sense to make the strong distinction between psychology and neuroscience, or between any of the sciences. Uh, we separate things out into different categories of science, different fields, because it's convenient for us, because we're not able to learn everything at once or study everything. But nature doesn't give a shit about that. Uh, Nature doesn't categorize the world into discrete problem areas. It just is. It just is all interlinked and is all dependent on other bits of it. So, what is psychology? What is neuroscience? Where's the line? No need to get too hung up on it. Freud, there are a lot of important broad insights. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember our early debates on how neuroscience is truly a subcomponent of psychology, which it isn't, of course. Of course, psychology is a subset of neuroscience, as we all know. Um, Neuroscience is clearly the overriding science that uh, is a long-standing debate. Although, in fairness, most of our, I think pretty much all of our arguments, Amy, or our ongoing ones are like joke ones. Um, right, apologies for that noise, but I needed to finish my drink. Ah, I shall have to make that again. I mean, the main thing is getting a fresh mango. Bit of a pain sometimes, but worth it. And it was probably worth my adding that little bit extra rum, because now I am a little bit tipsy. Um, no, thank you for the follow, Bob Marley. Right, over this weekend, I'm going to try to do a. Thank you, Amy. I'm glad you enjoyed. I'm going to try to do a notification thing, so that when people subscribe or follow, it gives a um, little ping or something on stream. I think I can do that on Streamlabs. Excuse me, OBS. I shall have to figure it out. Always extra rum, absolutely. Bit of extra rum never does you any harm, unless you're drinking way too much. But I am drinking an appropriate amount, I think. Um, at least for a Friday night stream. Uh, right. Okay. Um, I think I might wrap it up there. I've got a couple of things I need to get done. Um, but I do hope everyone has enjoyed, and once again, I've had fun both with the drink making and with the just chatting about um uh well, thank you for the gift sub, by the way, Josh. Always appreciate it. Um oh yeah, yeah, the fucking, just so many studies. I hate having to memorize so many studies. I had to do it a lot for my undergraduate as well, and I made so many fucking flashcards. Um, uh, but yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it for this evening. Um, but yeah, so many goddamn flashcards. But I will be back on Monday, and I'm gonna really try to come back Monday. I apologise for missing Wednesday. My health has been a bit lately, um, but uh, I've had a good stream today, I think. And yeah, I thank you very much for watching and following and whatnot, and expect more of my idle rambling. Um, Thank you, Matt101. Good luck with your ongoing A level, and hope to see you, around in the future. I'll be doing more of the same kind of, liberal, neurosciencey chatting sort of thing. So yeah, with hopefully weekly cocktails. So yeah, ta-ta. Have a nice evening. Have a happy weekend, and see you Monday. Ooh, that's well timed. That's my alarm for taking all my insulin shit anyway. Right.